and I'm looking up. We're walking up the stairs in this hockey arena, and this dude, I'm like, that's a really big dude. And by the time I got there, I was about and I'm like 6'5". I was about at his nipple. Okay.
What?
Yeah, big hands, big long hands, like out of the Goonies, like misshapen face. I'm like, my God. I'm like, how big are you? He's like, just laughed at me.
All right, so I came across this while watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and he had a guest on by the name of Devon Larratt. I could be saying that wrong, but he was mentioning the Kandahar Giant Story. Now, this is a story that's been around for the better part of 20, 25 years now. But I think it's always interesting when it comes up because each person gives a little bit of extra tidbit to the story. But what's even more interesting than that is outside of these conversations, these topics are presented to us as mythos, as mythology, aka fake, which is just an easy way of hiding these things in plain sight. So let's get into it.
Yeah. Have you heard of the legend of the Kandahar Giant?
Of course.
Yeah. What did you hear? When did you hear?
Well, I've seen. Okay. There's some freaks out there, man. There's some freaks. So yeah, I mean, I've seen the YouTube video. I've heard about it from other people, but legit. Okay. Hard for me because I was far away. Okay. I was probably about 200 meters away. We were doing a mobility exercise. Okay, mobility, I hate mobility. Okay, mobility was my least favorite op. Mobility, basically, you get in a bunch of trucks and you kind of roll out and you kind of look for a fight. Okay, so we were doing like a 2-week mobility in this region, kind of north of the Panjway. I don't remember exactly what it was called. It was this, surrounded by mountains, this big valley, and we were rolling around. And so there was a village that we were going to check out. And
now, for those of you who do not know, this region of the world is very, very remote. Very remote. We're talking about even basic things they do not have. They don't have light posts lining the streets to illuminate everything. So when you out there in the middle of nowhere in darkness, that's exactly what it is. It's nothing like you see here in America.
I'm like a gunner, okay? So I don't know everything that's going on. I'm a dude on a machine gun, okay? But I can see everything that's happening. I kind of know what we're doing. But I know that there's a meeting. And what they have is they have these warlords. It's not the same kind of political system or anything that we have in like North America. Kind of the baddest dude in the region becomes in charge, okay? So we were meeting with.
Now, you notice how he said the baddest dude is the one that's in charge. Now, typically that's associated with the biggest dude being in charge, right? And I want to make this clear. These people, these giants, have been within the earth for thousands of years. This is not anything new. In fact, this was routine information that was coming out in newspapers throughout the 17 and 1800s. Now, I know modern day archaeologists are trying to chalk that up as a hoax or it's false. But the truth is they're doing that because the elite are trying to hide their kin. Even when you examine that word, archae, meaning ancient or old, and ology, meaning the study of, these people are digging into the earth trying to find these old relics that existed before the flood. And when you examine the flood, you start to understand why it had to happen because you had people like this walking around.
With one of the local warlords. And so the town was like 500 meters away. They drove out from the town about 500 meters, and we had our trucks about 200 meters from the meeting point. Our officer and a couple dudes went forward, and we're looking. This guy, I mean, he was maybe twice as big. He was huge. He was a massive dude.
Like how?
Now you see this guy's face? It's almost as if he's reliving it. I'm gonna let him continue.
Big.
I think he was 8 feet. I think he was 8 foot something. It's embarrassing. It's like, Devon, you're crazy. He's big.
How? And he was 200 meters away.
He's about 200 meters away, but I can see the guys. We got optics. Our officer was probably somewhere between at the bottom of his chest. Great big Afghan dude. big beard, big dude. And his
Now, I want to expound on something that I mentioned earlier because I said these entities have been around for thousands of years. So let's go into that. So here we have the King James Bible, and any one of you right now can go look this up. It's not nothing crazy, but we're going to go to the book of Genesis, and we're going to start at the first verse in the 6th chapter. And it says, "And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God," you see that distinction there, the sons of God, "saw the daughters of men that they were fair," meaning these women were beautiful, "and they took them wives, all which they chose." Now, when you go deeper into that, what that's referring to is these angels, these sons of God, took on the likeness of these women's husbands, but they did it in their husband's fullness, so the woman would be more attracted to them. Okay, it was trickery. The 3rd verse, it says, "And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Now, some people interpret this as no human will live past 120 years. But what this really is referring to is the time between now and when the flood would eventually happen. So he's saying nobody will live past 120 years because that's when the flood is going to happen. It continues. And then it says, "There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that." After what? After the flood. So even after the flood, there was a remnant of them remaining. And this is why they had to go to these remote areas. This is why you see pyramids in Antarctica, South America, hell, even here in America. And a lot of these things serve as the burial grounds. But this goes back to my original point about why the flood had to happen. Because these entities that were not a part of the original divine creation was walking around consuming the original creation. So they had to be removed. So in many ways, the flood acted as a global baptism, because we know water cleanses, but fire purifies.
His lackeys around him were normal size, great big warlord. So they're out there. There's big people. There's
8 feet is nuts.
I have personally seen people who were probably over 8 feet.
What?
Yeah.
In Afghanistan?
No. I saw these guys up north, northern Canada, Cree. I was up in Ojibugamo, okay, this Cree village. I remember walking up. I'm there for arm wrestling. We're having an arm wrestling tournament, and I'm looking up. We're walking up the stairs in this hockey arena, and this dude, I'm like, that's a really big dude. And by the time I got there, I was about me, and I'm like 6'5". I was about at his nipple. Okay.
What?
Yeah, big hands, big long hands, like out of the Goonies, like misshapen face. I'm like, my God. I'm like how big are you? He's like, just laughed at me, and he's like, my brother, he's like, my dad's 8'11". He's like
what?
Yeah, big.
Did you hear what he said? 8'11". Now just imagine you were walking in the jungle, or you were somewhere in a remote area and you saw something like that. You would think that it was a different species. That's because it is. See, a lot of people don't understand that the world before the flood looked like Harry Potter. It looked like Lord of the Rings. So when you see those things being depicted in movies, they are drawing inspiration from what already happened. And when you start to understand what you're looking at, you'll realize that entertainment is actually the news, and news is just entertainment. And a lot of the elite have ties to the bloodlines of these giants. This is why they're spending so much money digging within the earth. They're trying to find old relics because they believe these items have spiritual power. They believe that they can use it for divination and for evocation. So it's much bigger than, oh, it's a big dude walking around. Matter of fact, let's go a little deeper into that. So here's the book of Numbers, chapter 13, and we're going to be all the way down at the 33rd verse. But I'm going to provide some context for this chapter so you understand what was going on here. So what's happening here is the Most High is commissioning Moses to put together a scout team. So they're going to take one leader from every tribe of Israel to go out there and scout the land of Canaan. They're supposed to go out there and come back and report what they saw. Now, all type of reports came back, good and bad. But one of the reports was this one. And in verse 33, it says, "And there we saw giants, the sons of Anak." Anak, where a lot of people get the concept of the Anunnaki from. right? But we'll go into that at a different time. But it goes on to say, which come of giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. So he's saying they were so big that we were like grasshoppers in their sight, and they also viewed us as grasshoppers. So how big do you have to be to view a grown man as a grasshopper? And this is not just the scriptures, okay? There's many ancient civilizations before there was any such thing as circumnavigation. So we know they could not communicate with each other, but on their walls, they're depicting the same things. Now, the names might change, but the attributes remain the same. It's the fallen angels. This is why it's important not to get caught up in names, but to look for their fruits, meaning the things that they do.
My dad's 8'11".
I'm telling you, there's big people, and people don't know about them. Guinness doesn't know about them. They live up in the woods. There's big people out there, and not
What
all
is
of
that
them.
guy, Jamie?
He's from that region, apparently. I don't know how to say that. Edouard Beaupre.
So there's just giants that live in that
8'3".
region?
Yeah.
8'3".
The Cree are very big people, and the thing is when they get to eat what they're supposed to eat. The problem is so many of them eat junk now, right? Because they grow up on the
pounds maybe, or 367. Sorry.
they grow
8'2.5", 367 pounds, age 33. Whoa.
Yeah, I forget the name of these brothers, but there's a bunch of them. Yeah, there's some weird genetics out there.
There are absolutely some weird genetics out here, but this one is unlike any other one within the earth. It's almost as if it's not supposed to be here, you see? And this is why dimensions like hell were created. Hell is basically a super prison designed to house powerful spirits. It's not made for you, but if you follow in the likeness of those spirits, you'll be there too. It's no different than you growing up in the inner city and you following after the older guys that are doing dumb things. Y'all both gonna more than likely end up in jail, right? It just makes you wonder, why don't they talk about these things more often? But at the same time, a lot of these things are right in our face, right? All of us have heard the story of David and Goliath. Goliath was a real giant, right? But we never put the things together in our minds. We were just reading things and having people feed us information without fully understanding what all these things meant and how the puzzle pieces actually fit together. Having giants here will be the same as if you took an apex predator out of their own environment and then introduced them into another environment that they're not native to. They would start to disrupt everything. And that's what the giants represented. They represented throwing off of balance. Because you think about the most powerful animals out there, all of them have nerfs and buffs to keep them in line, kind of with everything else. Could you imagine if a full-grown grizzly bear had wings? Could you imagine if a lion had a scorpion's tail that was fully operational and had poison? That would be crazy, right? So the Most High does things to ensure that there's balance. Now, we can't run as fast as a bear, nor as we are as strong as they are, but they do not have our mind. So they'll never develop a language or build a road or buildings or have schools. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got for y'all. Peace.